Consumer reporting with Duke. Oof, fancy. Yo, what is up guys? DukeOfDC here. Welcome to another video, and today I am on a very exciting bike from BMW, the G310R. It doesn't really roll off the tongue. I wish they had called this bike the R310G for some reason. But I do hope that that's the only gripe that I have, because this is an extremely exciting motorcycle from BMW. This is a true and honest, utter beginner machine at 310, which I believe is actually like a 313 single cc, about 30-something horsepower, in the 20s of pound-feet of torque. This is a great beginner bike, and I know a lot of you are going to be wondering, how much does it cost? $5,000. $5,000. That's really not that bad. Now, I know that there are beginner bikes out there that cost less, but for a BMW, for a premium bike, that is a very good deal in my personal opinion. And it comes in line with things like the 390 Duke, the R3, which is a little bit cheaper, the CBR 300s. The only bikes that I would say that are beginner bikes that come in well under this, where it would make more sense, are things like the Groms, or of course if you were buying a used beginner bike, which I genuinely think is a good idea too, because when you're buying a new bike, well, you come with new everything, and if you drop it, if you do anything to it, which is pretty likely with a new machine, you're going to be out the door all that money. Whereas if you buy something used, you won't have to deal with the depreciation, you'll just deal with the cost of fixing it. So I want to give you guys my first impressions. I've only been on the bike for a minute now. You've just seen me roll out of Motorcycles of Dulles, which I have to give a huge shout out to. Thank you guys so much for letting me take this bike out today. I know that you know, it's not necessarily easy to give test rides at motorcycle dealerships with insurance, etc., but to get on this and to make a video for all of you is really exceptional. So go check out Motorcycles of Dulles, link in the description below. Really cool guys and a great dealership. So the bike, I actually really like it. First impressions, it's a lot smoother than I thought it was going to be for a single. There's no vibration in the handlebars, and let's see how it does like up at speeds. Sixth gear, cruising at 55, plenty smooth, good amount of power, nothing overwhelming. Throttle response is nice and kind of gummy, which on most sport bikes would be a negative, but on something like this, it's a positive, because a beginner is not going to want this kind of razor sharp throttle response that could send them flying if they got into an incident where they were really wrist happy. Plenty. The digital display is okay, black and white. Obviously there are going to be a lot of features on this bike that are cost savings oriented, and I think that this is going to be one of them. The suspension is obviously not adjustable, no cruise control, you know, not a lot of bells and whistles, but again, for $5,000 you're paying 1/4 of what you would be paying to ride something like an S1000RR. Do I think that this is 1/4 of that experience? Nah, not so much. No. If you are getting into motorcycles, you want a BMW, I think that this is a fantastic new bike to purchase. Now, I've been a BMW fanboy for a really long time. Everybody knows that. It's shocking that I haven't owned one yet. Would I personally buy this bike? No. But that's not because I don't think it's good. That's just because I personally am above the riding kind of, I don't know, scheme or niche that this fills. This is a bike for beginners, and maybe even intermediate riders, and not to say that I'm anything above intermediate, but it's just not for me. Would I buy this bike for someone like my girlfriend, who maybe want to get, you know, when she wants to get into bikes? I would 100% buy this for her. This is a fantastic bike. It feels really safe, it feels really planted, low center of gravity, very light and nimble, like super flickable. That feels incredibly good, incredibly easy. No shake, no shudder, and ABS. Anti-lock brake system comes standard on these bikes, which is a huge deal for beginners. I know that there's the argument that you have a bike, you're a beginner, you should learn how to do emergency braking on something that doesn't have ABS. I do believe in that, but I also believe in safety first. And having anti-lock brakes is an enormous safety feature that should be on every bike. Now, it is good to learn how to brake without the assistance of said feature, but it's not necessary. in this day and age, with technology coming into play and a lot of the safety features on bikes becoming more standardized, it's one that I wouldn't mess around with. So if you have an option to get a beginner bike with ABS versus without, always go with. Another thing that I probably should talk about is the wind. So this bike is clearly a pretty naked bike. There's no front fairing that's coming up and protecting me to go over my helmet, but there is this kind of little cowl that goes in front of the TFT, or rather digital dash. I doubt that that's a TFT display. So the cowl up here is deflecting some wind. I feel very little wind on my chest, which is good because that'll help from fatigue, but I do feel it on my helmet, and I think anything above 70 miles an hour, which is also going to be goosing this bike to close to its top speed, which is 90 miles an hour, is going to be very, very uncomfortable. So this may not be a long distance motorcycle. It certainly isn't something that I would want to take on a longer trip if you had to do, you know, above 60 or above 70 rather. 60 I think would be fine, but 70, 80 miles an hour on major highways or interstates for an hour plus would get taxing for both the vehicle and I think you. It is a 3-gallon gas tank that gets 70 miles per gallon. That is amazing. 70 miles per gallon is absolutely amazing. So for 3 gallons, you can go 210 miles to full empty. And at 3 gallons, you're spending what, like sub $10? So awesome. I do find that I'm riding in a much higher gear than I normally would. Obviously this bike is extremely new and I don't want to damage it in any way, shape, or form, so I'm trying to keep it low in the rev range and also keep the rev range from being at a constant state, so to break in this engine properly. Another thing, the instruments on the side are very user-friendly. I mean, these are big buttons, they're easy to access. The turn signal, the horn, the high beam flashers, the on-off, the start switch, everything is very easy. Everything is really available, and as a beginner, it's one less thing to think about. When you're riding a motorcycle at first, I remember this very, very distinctly, everything is difficult that isn't focusing on the road. And what I mean by that is that any amount of focus that you have to give to one other thing that isn't exactly just staring at where you're going and being cautious and everything like that is a terrifying thing. Ugh, look at this fucking gravelly shite. There's not a lot of pep when you're in 6th gear, a little bit low in the rev range, but it's still a really fun bike. You know, riding a motorcycle is an experience, and it's more than just this crazy amount of speed that's coming from super sport bikes these days. I have a good friend of mine in the back behind me here on an S1000RR that he's riding for the first time ever, and I wish I had a mic into him to see what he's thinking, because that thing is just a rocket ship. And it's such an interesting dichotomy, the relationship between this bike and that bike, and how BMW is starting to expand, right? If you thought BMW 10 years ago, you would think R1200 GS Adventure. If you think BMW now, you may not think that. You may think S1000RR. Now, that's not to say the R1200 GS Adventure isn't an incredible bike and a super flagship that is making them tons of money, but they are a sport bike builder as well. I mean, the R1200, I'm sorry, the S1000RR, the S1000R, these are amazing bikes, and BMW is now able to translate their engineering of sport bikes into these really, really beautiful beginner bikes, and that's an exciting thing. I'm excited to be a part of this. No slipper clutch, no quick shifter, no auto blipper, no frills. This is just a rider's bike, and it's a good rider's bike too. There's a lot of balance in this chassis that you can feel when you go into a corner at speed. I think that this would be something that you could grow into as well. Most comments that I get about buying beginner bikes, or rather buying bikes that are, in my opinion, too big as beginner bikes, are that people want to buy something they can grow into. They're worried that after, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months, 1 season, they're going to need something new, and they're going to have taken this hit in depreciation, whether they buy new or they're going to have to deal with selling something used, and it's a whole big thing. Look at this cluster fudge. I think that this bike kind of bridges that gap. This and the KTM 390 Duke are two bikes that you could own for a very long time if you wanted to. And that's not to say you wouldn't necessarily want more speed eventually or something that's a little bit bigger, but this would be the best commuter bike for me right now. It can go the speeds that I need to go. I go on the highway, but it's not for very long. It's only about 3-4 miles. 70 miles an hour for 3 or 4 miles on this. Easily possible. Absolutely no issues for the engineering or for my body's fatigue. At 70 miles per gallon, I could ride this bike for 1 week of commuting to work and fill it up for $10. That is an extraordinary deal. The insurance on these is going to be cheaper because it's a low-cost, low-cc bike. And this is a huge bike for the European crowd because there are licensing restrictions that have certain CC regulations if you're not a certain age and you start riding. I don't know all of them for each country, but I know that this bike falls underneath a lot of them. And it allows new riders to go and buy a nice premium BMW bike. Awesome. Awesome, 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 awesome. I'm so excited. Side note, I bought my first bike in this area, in this neighborhood over here, from a gentleman. Very nice guy. Good deal. Good deal. Sold that bike for a profit. What you know about flipping them, boy? So real quick, guys, I want to talk about DukeOfDC and the brand and where things are going. Over the last few months, I've had kind of an identity crisis. I didn't know what I wanted to do with it, and just recently I figured out this is what I want to do. I want to continue doing what I know I'm good at and what I enjoy, and that's making first ride and review comprehensive bike review videos for y'all. So this is the beginning. This is the beginning of a new era of DukeOfDC, going back to kind of my old scheme of test riding and giving my impressions on motorcycles. I think a lot of you really like that. I know a few of you, wink wink, are here because of that. Those are like my most popular videos. That's the joke. And that's what I want to do. I really enjoy making these. I love riding new bikes. It's such a fun experience for me, and I hope that you enjoy them. If you like this video, please slap a like on it right now. It would really help me out. Let me know that I'm going down the right way, going down the right path. Leave a comment down below if you'd like to support me. I am opening up a Patreon. It is going to be the first link in the description. Go to my Patreon if you want to see more reviews before anybody else gets a chance to watch them. I'm going to post videos up there weeks ahead. I'm going to be doing a bunch of test ride and reviews over the next few weekends, and I'm going to be posting them about once a week. So if you want all of them or a few of them, I'm not sure what I've figured out in terms of, you know, the frequency of my uploads, then go there and check those out. Wide open throttle, wide open throttle, wide open throttle. Oh fuck, is that a cop? Honestly, that's another thing. I was not speeding. You cannot... This is the best bike if you have a restricted license because you are a speeder. This is something that is going to get you in very little trouble. Flip a Yui. You good to head back? Yeah. How's it feel?
I want it.
I know, man. Have you used the quick shifter?
I've been using that no clutch.
Isn't it amazing?
It's amazing.
Yeah, bro. All right, let's head back. Let's go, baby. Power! Woo! I fucking love this bike. This is fantastic. It wouldn't be a DukeOfDC video if I didn't drop the F-bomb excitingly about a motorcycle, and that's how I feel about this. I was hesitant at first. I mean, this is BMW's like true and honest first entry-level motorcycle. They've had things like the like F650s or something like that. I don't know that those are true and honest beginner's bike. That's something that you'd want to own as maybe an intermediate rider, but this is it in terms of cost, in terms of another huge thing. All new BMW bikes come with a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty. That is an amazing warranty. It's class leading, and for a new rider, it takes all of the guesswork out of if something goes wrong. If something goes wrong, take it to BMW and they will fix it. That is an incredible, incredible thing to have, because as a new rider, you might not have either the skills or the tools to really fix or work on your bikes. So to have kind of a safety net in a dealership support system and a network that is so vast as BMW, to be able to take it in and have things done for free if something was to break, it's kind of a no-brainer at that point. I don't know the maintenance intervals on this, but I doubt that they're very short. I bet they're, you know, nice and long intervals for oil changes, etc., so that you don't have to do them so frequently. I don't know if I have anything bad to say, you know. It's not incredibly powerful, but it's not supposed to be. And other than that, it's very smooth. Wow, what a review, guys. I'm gonna head back to the dealership now and do maybe a little walk around and show you guys some stuff. Just like a little bit of the styling cues, but we've talked about everything. I really appreciate all of you watching this, and I hope that you leave that like. I hope that you subscribe if you are new. Yeah, whew, I'm so excited to be back on a motorcycle, and what a beautiful day. It is the end of September. It's literally the last day of September. It's probably 60 degrees at most. It feels like 50 something. The sun is shining. My favorite time of the year to ride motorcycles. So it's just it's a good day. 'Tis a good day. It's upright. It's extraordinarily comfortable. The ergos are very nice. The handlebars are far enough back that you're not leaning forward very much, but they're also just far enough forward where it's a little sporty. It gives you more responsiveness. Quick side note, the seat height on this bike is extremely usable. As I like to say, I'm not very tall, 5'9", with my boots on, and yet I am very easily flat-footing this bike. So if you're a shorter rider, this is a fantastic bike for you. Another plus. You know, it's interesting. I love bikes that are cheap, or rather, this isn't cheap, but it's relatively inexpensive to what it's competing against, and very friendly and usable, tend to get my love more than some of these kind of super sport bikes that are just so on the razor's edge. Just because a lot of my riding is more day-to-day commuting and you know, not having these crazy windy roads or these opportunities to go 150 miles an hour. Dude, Max looks so cool. What a phenomenal bike. Okay, guys, so big shout out to Motorcycles of Dulles here in Sterling, Virginia. This is it. This is the G310R. I'm just going to do a really quick walk around because there isn't a whole lot to show you. You can see it's got the ABS ring there. These are Bybri brakes. I've actually never heard of that company. That's kind of interesting. Another cost savings. It's got the gold forks, non-adjustable suspension. It's got some of the same livery that you're going to see on other bigger, more expensive, more premium BMWs. It has this nice seat for another passenger here with good handholds. You know, pretty skinny rear tire. Massive exhaust here, something that I would get changed out. 3-gallon gas tank. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you on the next one. Peace!